Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us again for our second webinar on the Florida nursing home audit requirements, the new requirements, and an update for the final rule. I am Brian Hall. I'm the industry line leader for our firm, and I'm joined by two of my healthcare partners who will be introducing themselves shortly. But just as a reminder, any information taken for this course should be applied in a manner that's consistent with the context. So context of what we're speaking is important. This is me, and introduce Chad. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, this is Chad Branson, again with Carr, and Ingram in the Destin, Miramar Beach, Panhandle area of Florida. Also an audit partner.
Don Maples, located in Aniana, Alabama, with 40 plus years experience in cost reporting and auditing et al.
Absolutely. So the objectives, and I will remind everybody, if you haven't seen it, there's a earlier version of this presentation where we spoke about the interim, the proposed rule. We're updating today for the final rule. So I would encourage you to look for that, and I will show you towards the end of the presentation where you can find that, the first one. But the objectives today are to understand the new Florida law and its related rules, now final, current status, effective date, the associated timelines, and the expected impact. Obviously, the most important part here, we'll discuss the recently released final rule and key changes from the proposed rule. And we'll discuss some important information that you should know when making decisions for your organization.
All right, and I'll pick up from here. Florida House Bill 539 and Senate Bill 2518. Both of these bills in the Florida House and the Senate are nearly identical. They were signed by the governor on April 6, 2022, and the law became effective July 1, 2022. The law actually, both of these bills went through the process really quickly, and there was no dissent on either one of these from the House or the Senate. It was 100% approval for both House and Senate. So what is required of this new law? The law requires nursing homes and their home offices to report audited financial statements. The key is audited. That's the big change, including a balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, and statement of retained earnings, and notes to the financials. This is due within 120 days of the entity's fiscal year end. So if you've got a December 31 year end, then audited financials would be due by April 30th each year. Nursing homes are defined in Florida Code section 408.07. And if you ask what is that, then here's your definition for the Florida Code section 408.07. Nursing home means a facility licensed under section 400.062 or for resident level and financial data collection purposes only, any institution licensed under Chapter 395 and which has a Medicare or Medicaid certified distinct part used for skilled nursing home care. This does not, however, include a facility licensed under Chapter 651. Why was this deemed necessary? The legislator uses the information gathered for following purposes, among others: making policy, management, budgetary decisions, setting Medicare rates, research, responding to media and other requests, ensuring compliance, and developing rules. The format of annual reporting will include the Florida Nursing Home Uniform Reporting System, which became effective July 1, 2021, with the audit as an additional requirement to this annual reporting. Rulemaking related to this law is under the authority of the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration, or AHCA, and the final rule became effective November 1st, 2023.
Some highlights of the final rule. It's always good to read the rule if you have some specific questions. But again, to reiterate, you're required to file what's called a cost statement in the Fenner's manual system. And along with the filing of that cost statement, you have to upload audited U.S. GAAP financial statements prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Just to remind everybody, there are different levels of services that accountants provide. They can prepare financial statements. They can issue a compilation opinion, a review opinion, or an audited opinion. So keep that in mind, because there are some exceptions to this very first year as far as you making some choices of the type of financial statement that you enter into the FNIRS system. And as Chad said, the effective date of the rule was November the 1st. So that means within 30 days after that, November 30th, then you're subject to these requirements with the first fiscal year end after that. So most nursing homes, of course, probably have a December calendar year end. So this is going to be the first period of reporting in the FNIRS system, the cost statement, as well as uploading the GAAP prepared financial statements. Some other highlights of the final rule is that the audited financial statements need to be the same as the fiscal year end for your cost statement. And the cost statement is not the same as your Medicare cost or Medicaid cost report. It could be a completely different fiscal year end, but more than likely it will be the same. And realize this cost statement is what I call more or less a mini Medicaid cost report. It's an Excel workbook with 10 different tabs. And the biggest difference is it has a lot of additional information related to payroll and FTEs and information that you normally wouldn't put into the cost report itself. Now, they do say if you're unable to obtain an audit in the first year, then you can issue unaudited financial statements or submit unaudited financial statements. And unaudited basically would mean either something prepared internally or a prepared financial statement by an accounting firm. But do remember, these financial statements have to be in accordance with GAAP. And that's what makes it difficult in a lot of cases. If you're not used to having a financial audit, then preparing financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles can be quite complex. But if you don't issue that first year's audited financial statement, then you must complete one with the submission of the second year. And that, of course, could be accepted or not accepted. In the event that it is not accepted, then penalties could potentially accrue back to the original filing date. Now, everybody needs to know that you can have an extension. It's pretty much an allowed extension based on simply filing 1 week before 30 days before the filing of the cost report. So most everybody is probably going to do that, and there's no reason to wait to file that extension. Other reasons that you might be able to file an extension would be in the event that there were some delays due to natural disasters or declared states of emergency, cyber attacks, things that would be out of the ordinary where you could actually ask for an additional extension.
All right. Thank you, Don. Yes, so we do anticipate that, especially this first year, most providers will want to get an extension. And to Don's point, as long as you file a request for extension at least a week prior to the due date, and the due date is 120 days, then you will receive an extension. In our opinion, we don't see any reason to wait. You can go ahead and do that. I'd encourage the providers to go ahead and do that. The final rule specifically notes that if you file a cost report with the same year end as you're filing your financials, which I would think 100% or close to it are going to be filing cost reports. Those cost reports are, of course, due 150 days after year end for Medicare purposes. So the purpose of this extension just aligns the due date for the Florida reporting with the Medicare cost report, although Medicare is not specifically mentioned in the rule. But in any event, good idea to go ahead and get your extension request in. So a couple things here. The final rule does allow for consolidated audits of a group that owns nursing homes. And I know this is very common in Florida for one ownership group to own several or many nursing homes. And it may have a home office or more than one. So the rule contemplates that. It does allow you to have a consolidated audit that will suffice for the audit requirement if it contains all of the following. So it must have a balance sheet and an income statement and each licensee and home office must have a separate column in the consolidating schedule in the audit. So for the audit, you'd have obviously a consolidated balance sheet and income statement and cash flows and retained earnings. And in the back, you must have a separate column that shows all the individual nursing homes and home offices consolidating with a balance sheet and income statement. Originally, there was a requirement for a statement of cash flows on a consolidating individual entity level. That is very difficult, and the CPA firms in the state, including us, provided some feedback to ACA, and they were generous enough to remove that from the interim rule. So that's no longer in the final rule. The consolidating schedule must include an opinion from the CPA firm that the schedules are presented fairly and all material specs in relation to the financial statements as a whole. So every CPA firm that does audits is going to understand the in relation to opinion. This again was a change from the interim rule, which was silent on the opinion. The input of all the CPA firms in the state that are focused on these audits was that we wanted an in relation to opinions. That was again added. We appreciated that. So there are some specific details in the final rule about change of ownership and who is responsible for which year, previous owner versus current owner. Those get to be complex, but we would refer you to the final rule there. We do think that is going to be something that's going to be very important if a nursing home or a home office is sold during the year. We do think that'll be a bit difficult on the previous owners because there will be some responsibility that can't be waived there. And also in the final rule, home office is specifically defined now, and it does include management companies. So obviously in the cost reporting world, home office is one thing that where costs are allocated out to the individual locations. Management company may or may not have the same treatment in the cost reporting world. But for this Florida law, management companies are included. So that is an important distinction. So current concerns, the 120-day timeline, especially for these first few years, is extremely challenging. We know that seems like a long time, but that time will go quickly. There are a vast number of nursing homes, home offices, and management companies in Florida that are impacted by this law. And there are a limited number of CPA firms with the expertise and ability to conduct these audits. So we will again strongly encourage you to reach out to your CPA firm of choice, whether it be CRI or any of the other qualified firms in Florida, to engage your auditor, discuss what this looks like, and go ahead and get on the schedule, because we do anticipate that capacity for CPA firms is going to be a distinct challenge with this law. And to my earlier point, we do highly suggest you go ahead and take advantage of the 30-day extension request if you file a Medicare cost report or Medicaid cost report. Again, cost report not specifically defined in the rule, but if you have a cost report and you use the same fiscal year end as your cost reporting year end, then you're allowed to take that extension. So we see no reason to wait. Go ahead and request that. So in our earlier webinar, we discussed in a little more detail just some frequently asked questions that we're seeing. One of them, of course, is what is a financial statement audit? Just not to rehash and for the sake of brevity, we're not going to go through that today, but you can find that earlier webinar. If you go to YouTube and you search for Florida nursing home audit requirements, as you see on the screen, it'll be the first or second one that pops up. So we'd encourage you to listen to that when you have time, and it'll go through specifically what is a financial statement audit. Similarly, what is the timeline for an audit, and how much does an audit cost? So that concludes the schedule today. I want to thank everybody for their time. I want to thank Dawn and Chad for participating. Again, CRI is very excited to be meeting potential new clients related to compliance with this rule. We currently have capacity, but we do anticipate that'll fill up quickly. So if you have any needs and you'd like to discuss with any of the three of us or any of your local CRI contacts. CRI has numerous offices throughout the state of Florida. We'd encourage you to do so. And we are likely to record another webinar in this series in the future that'll go into a little bit more details once we start to get a little bit further down the line. But we appreciate everybody's time today. We hope you found this useful, and please reach out if there's anything we can do to help. Thank you.